Right now, I'm challenging myself to see if I can make 128 Regulation H teams that are each different from one another over the course of 128 days. Why 128, you might ask? At the end of the 128 days, we're going to do something special where we battle every team against each other in a single elimination bracket to see which team emerges on top. There will be some competitively strong teams, there will be some gimmick teams, and there will be some probably a good number of goofs and gaffs in there, so if you want to follow through to the end, subscribe so that you can keep up with each day. But without further ado, let's move on to day 38. Alright everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be going over a Sun and Moon team. Now you might be thinking that there already are two Pokemon games called Sun and Moon, but some of these Pokemon do not appear in those games, and you would be correct. But instead of talking about Gen 7 the entire time, we're going to be looking at Pokemon that are actually themed around the Sun and Moon, and Bruxish, because Bruxish is from Sun and Moon. Unfortunately, we don't have Lunatone and Solrock in the game, quotation marks around the unfortunately. And I'm also going to be honest, I've been trying to do a lot of teams today, and this is the first team in like 10 teams that has clicked because I started working on a team that I decided to push off for longer because I just wasn't making it work, and I think I need longer for it. And I mean, you can look at the whenever I just said 38 right there to see the difference in number between Team 37 and Team 38, how many teams I made to get to this team. So yeah, today was probably the roughest team building day out of all the days so far, but here's Umbreon to do Umbreon things with the Foul Play, which is a 95 base power and uses the opponent's attack, so we don't have to invest any actual attack in our Umbreon in order to have a very strong Foul Play, which is nice, but it only really works into physical attackers. We also have the Snarl on Umbreon, which will lower the special attack of hopefully special attackers. And it's just nice to have a little bit of spread damage to maybe break some sashes or force your opponent to wide guard in places. And we also have the Skill Swap on Umbreon, just in case we want to swap around some of the opponent's abilities, like Unaware on Dondozo. But we can also make like Unaware Umbreon by swapping Clefable's Unaware off, or we can make Dazzling Umbreon, which we haven't talked about Dazzling before on the channel, but it works a lot like Queenly Majesty. Or we could just reset up Torkoal's Sun by side skill swapping into Torkoal and then reactivating the drought that way. And since we are Sun and Moon, we can use Moonlight, which will heal us up by like 75% whenever the sun is up, because Moonlight, unlike most other recovery moves, heals you by a weather dependent amount like Synthesis does. So it can be very hard to remove Umbreon, which is nice because we want to use it to disrupt a lot of what the opponent has to send attacks our way. And then we have the inner focus on Umbreon, so we won't be getting faked out, but we also won't be getting intimidated, but that doesn't really matter since we're not much of a physical attacker. And we have leftovers just to give us some nice longevity, and Terra Electric makes it so that we're only weak to ground on Umbreon if we decide to go with a Terra, and we resist electric and steel, which can be kind of nice because we don't have much of those resistances on the rest of the team. Moving into our next moon component, we have the Blood Moon Ursaluna. This is a pretty normal Blood Moon Ursaluna set, as we have the Blood Moon, which is the 140 base power move that cannot be used twice in a row. And we also have the Hyper Voice, and the Hyper Voice will be activating our Throat Spray, which will give us a free special attack boost once we've used the Hyper Voice, as well as we have the Earth Power just for good stab type coverage and allows us to hit things like rock and steel types. And we just have Protect just to save ourselves. And I've gone over Mind's Eye before, but in case you need a quick summary on Mind's Eye, it's just that it ignores accuracy, but it also makes it so that our normal type moves can hit ghost types. And for our speed on Ursaluna, I decided to just go like no real speed investment, 72 speed, just because we do have Trick Room components on this team, but it's nice to have a little bit of speed just in case we want our opponent to think that we want to set up Trick Room, but we're actually just faster than them and we use Bruxish to do other things. Next up, we got Clefable, who Clefable's been pretty popular in the format because it is a nice unaware redirector, which means that it can deal with like Dondozo, for example, but also King Gambit if it's going for the sword stances. You can Terra Steel with Clefable, and then you can deal with the King Gambit a little bit more reliably. And we have the Cover Cloak so that we're not getting faked down on Clefable. And Clefable is just running really good support moves and Follow Me and Helping Hand, and the Moonblast is just good stab damage. Next up, we got Bruxish, and Bruxish, I believe, is the last Pokemon to have a variant of the ability Armor Tail or Queenly Majesty in the Dazzling. And if you want to know why they made 3 of these different abilities, I don't know why they did that. I mean, Queenly, they could have just put Dazzling on Serena and it would have just been pretty much the same. But Dazzling is going to negate all priority used against you on the field, so it's nice because we don't have any other priority prevention other than Bruxish. And as I mentioned before, Umbreon can skill swap the Dazzling onto itself, and since Umbreon is pretty tanky, it means that it can stay around for a long time and make good use of the Dazzling so that nothing can ever use priority against us. And Bruxish's main goal is that we want it to set up Trick Room for some of our slower Pokemon, but we also want it to disrupt the field with things like the Flip Turn, which will allow us to swap out perhaps into Clefable in order to give us more support, or into Umbreon itself in order to take a hit. And since we're Focus Sash, the opponent is going to have to double into it in order to get rid of it, but they can never fake it out because of Dazzling, which is great, and we're Tear Grass so that we're not getting put to sleep, and we're Pain Split so that if our Focus Sash does get activated, we can Pain Split the opponent and do a pretty decent amount of damage to them. Even though we're 252 HP, which I should probably not be that if we're going to be Pain Splitting things, but just forget about it. I'm too tired to change this team. Next up, we got Venusaur, and Venusaur is a Chlorophyllmon, which means that it takes good use of the sun that's being set up by Torkoal, and we also have Sleep Powder, as a lot of the Chlorophyllmons do at this point. And the Sleep Powder with the wide lens means that our Sleep Powder is like 87% accurate, so we're going to be landing it more often than not and then getting really angry when we don't land it, or we get the one-turn sleep. That's also great. But other than that on Venusaur, we're mostly offensive here as we are Stellar Terra in order to get a lot of damage with our Stab Sludge Bomb and our Stab Energy Ball, and our Earth Power is just good type coverage. And if you didn't want to run the Sleep Powder for the chance of missing it, you could run Weather Ball and be like Expert Belt. It's also a pretty nice set that we'll probably use at some point in the future, but for now we're just being gimmicky Venusaur with Sleep Powder and Wide Lens. And last but not least, we got the Torkoal itself, who is running a pretty simple set that has the Eruption on it, which is 150 base power whenever you're full health, and then it goes down as you lose health. And if we lose too much health, we can rely on our Heat Wave in order to do good fire type damage, and Earth Power just mainly enables us to beat other Torkoals. So yeah, that's the basic gist of the team. Let's get into some battling. Alright, so here we have a best of 3 battle that I had against a team that uses Indeedee armors, but they also have Torkoal and King Gambit, and the Gallade makes it so that they have a lot of Trick Room stuff, and their Hisuian Zoroark is a very offensive piece that scares me, and they immediately lead Gallade and Indeedee, which makes me think they want to get up Trick Room, and I led Umbreon, so I'm feeling pretty confident at this point that I can just use Clefable to redirect damage, but they Terra Normal their Gallade and Helping Hand here to reveal that they're actually Hyper Voice, which means that this is the Hisuian Zoroark there, so we are not off to a great start as we're about to get 2-hit KO'd by the Zoroark's Hyper Voice here on Umbreon, and Clefable is sticking around just so we can create spread damage, as we're going to Helping Hand with our own Ursaluna here, and we have the Hyper Voice, but the Indeedee is faster than Ursaluna, so it gets 2 Psychic into that slot, as now we bring in Torkoal, but Torkoal is just going to get flat out clapped by the Hyper Voice here. Alright, game 2 I decide to make the adjustment of leading with Bruxish, and the opponent actually full on changes their leader, at least we think they do, because they lead Armors and King Gambit, but we see that Terra Normal and Armors to start off with, which is not good for us, as Bruxish gets put down to its Sash, and Umbreon takes some damage, but we do Flip Turn the Zoroark, which does nice damage into it, and now we get to bring in Torkoal as we Foul Play the Zoroark for the rest of its health, and they do Kowtow Cleave into Torkoal here, which is not super helpful, but we're better off at this point than we were last time. Torkoal's going to protect here, not wanting to take any damage, and we do crit the Foul Play here, which is pretty nice. It maybe pressures the opponent a little bit, but in the grand scheme of the game, I don't think it matters. We Moonlight with Umbreon to get back to full health, as the Armor Cannon takes us pretty much back down to where we were before. And the Kingambit goes for the Kowtow, but it doesn't finish off Torkoal, as we get the Heat Wave into Kingambit, but Kingambit actually lives it on 1%, which is not great. They Sucker Punch into the Torkoal to take it out, and the Armor Cannon in with Armarouge. And this is the moment that we find out that Armarouge is speed tying with Umbreon, which is a little annoying. But now we get to bring in Bruxish and Ursaluna, and Ursaluna should reliably outspeed both. Bruxish probably just outspeeds Armarouge, and Armarouge probably outspeeds Ursaluna, but now they just have only Indeedee in the back after Ursaluna got off that Hyper Voice to defeat Kingambit, and they couldn't Sucker Punch either of our Mons because Bruxish is dazzling. Alright, this time I wanted to see if there was going to be a change up, and they decided to lead Indeedee Torkoal, and both of their abilities activate, so neither of them are Zoroark here, as they immediately go for the Terrifier and Follow Me, but we get a nice Snarl off into Indeedee and Torkoal, and I thought that maybe they would swap Torkoal, but we don't take too much damage from Eruption, so I just had Bruxish set up the Trick Room here, because I have two very Trick Room oriented pieces in the back as the Helping Hand the Eruption, so that's going to finish off Bruxish, but Umbreon is still hanging on, thankfully, and we're pretty much full health with Umbreon now, and we can set our own Torkoal to attack mode with the Eruption now that we're under the Trick Room, and we critical hit the Indeedee, but I don't think that mattered, as they Earth Power into our Torkoal, and we get the Snarl to finish off their Torkoal, so the fact that we set up Trick Room is really benefiting us right now. Zoroark and Armarouge are going to take the field, and they do click the Expanding Force, but Umbreon is immune to it, but that's going to take out Torkoal, as Umbreon gets a little safety Snarl into both slots, taking down their special attack, and the Hyper Beam from Zoroark wouldn't even take us out if we had missed the Snarl, but the Hyper Voice inside Trick Room is going to be able to finish off both Zoroark and Armarouge there. Yeah, pretty decent set, just kind of had to know that I need to lead Bruxish with the Focus Sash in order to deal with Zoroark, and then once we have Trick Room up, our Trick Room pieces benefit from Trick Room a little bit more than their Trick Room pieces, mostly just because we have Umbreon in order to disrupt them a little bit more. Okay, here we have an opposing Clefable, but they're Magic Guard, but the most dangerous thing they can do probably is set up their Volcarona. Oh, but their Primarina also has Calm Mind Training Kiss. This is a lot of stuff I'm not prepared for. What? The Glimmora is Toxic Debris and Toxic Spikes. Okay, well, let's start with Venusaur, I guess, and then we'll do... I think Bruxish just threatened the... Actually, Bruxish to swap in for the priority might be good, and then Torkoal in the back. Okay, so they start Volcarona and Glimmora, which is not the worst thing for us. So we could just... I mean, swapping in Torkoal here really isn't an option because it's going to give the Volcarona Sun. We could just Earth Power into the Glimmora, though, because it doesn't have a way to save itself other than terrestrializing. What if it could power me? No. Let's Sleep Powder... Actually, let's Sleep Powder Volcarona and then swap in Torkoal. Okay, so we get the Sleep Powder into Volcarona, and what does Glimmora do? They Mortal Spin both. Well, they're not... They get to Poison Torkoal, but not Venusaur here. So we can just Earth Power Glimmora, and I'm pretty okay with the Eruption damage into Volcarona as long as it doesn't wake up. And even if it does wake up, the most damage that can go for us into Torkoal is Psychic. So we get the Earth Power, and that eliminates Glimmora, and Volcarona is asleep for 2 turns. So we get that much Eruption damage into it, which is awesome. And okay, they swap in Rillaboom here, but I want to get rid of Volcarona. So we're going to go for the Sludge Bomb in there, and then we're going to swap in Bruxish so that they cannot fake out Venusaur. And Rillaboom goes Terra Fire here, but what is... Oh, it decides to knock off into what was previously Torkoal. Okay. Well, what are their 2 Mons in the back? Now that they've Terra Fired, we can Earth Power the Rillaboom slot, even though they are Assault Vest. And they can't Sucker Punch Venusaur right now, at least. And Kingambit, I think... Is Kingambit Sword Stance? It is Sword Stance. That's a slight bit of a problem. I think maybe we could count on Umbreon dealing with Rillaboom once the grassy terrain goes down. So I'm just going to Earth Power King Gambit, and then let's Earth Power King Gambit, and then Pain Split the Rillaboom. Okay, they tried the Grassy Glide, but they didn't get it, and Earth Power does over half to King Gambit. Kowtow comes out, and then doesn't finish it off, and we get the Pain Split into Rillaboom, which is going to heal up Bruxish pretty nice. And they're not Protect on King Gambit, so we can afford to just go for the Earth Power into that slot again. And let's Flip Turn with Bruxish, since I don't think we have any more use for Bruxish. They catch, we catch another Sucker Punch on the Dazzling there, which is nice. So they knock off Bruxish, and Flip Turn's going to do some nice damage there, but now we get Umbreon in for free. And our Sun does go away, but we don't need Venusaur to be faster than Rillaboom at this point, since they don't really have much to hurt Venusaur. So let's just go for the Earth Power and the Foul Play. And alright. Okay, so what is the opponent adjustment? I assume it would be like leading maybe just Glamora again and then going for the Power Herb. Or leading the Clefable and then going for Follow Me so that they can get Quiver Dances up on their Volcarona. So if they're going to do that, then I'm going to start Bruxish, and we're going to have Torkoal and Ursaluna in the back this time. Okay, they do the same lead, so I'm fine. Do I really think they're going to attack with both here into Bruxish whenever Venusaur could just click Earth Power into Glamora or sleep Volcarona again? Because I feel like that answer is no. Could also be faster than the Glamora. Depends how it's trained, but it's not super likely. Let's Earth Power the Glamora and then set up Trick Room with Bruxish. They go Terra Grass on Volcarona, and they Quiver Dance in front of us, which is great as they Earth Power into Bruxish, and we get to take out Glamora as now we get Trick Room. And okay, they're going to swap in Clefable here, but I'm perfectly fine with that. We can try to Sludge Bomb into the Volcarona, but more importantly, we can Flip Turn into Volcarona here. Flip Turn is going to come out, and Torkoal should still be fine, even if they go for... They have Fiery Dance. Oh, they don't have Heat Wave, so they can't spread attack. They wouldn't use a Fire type move into a Water type, so we can swap in Torkoal here. Yeah, they Fiery Dance into Venusaur, which Venusaur is made faster because of the sun, but that's a worthy sack because now we get Ursaluna in for free. And we can just click the Spread Hyper Voice and Terrify our Eruption. Because now the Volcarona is grass, it's weak to the Eruption, whereas previously it was neutral to it. Torkoal's going to Terrify, Clefable's going to protect itself for this turn. Eruption comes out, and that's just going to get rid of Volcarona as we get off the Hyper Voice, but since there was no target for us to actually hit, we're not going to get that Throat Spray on this turn. As now they get to bring in Primarina, but I'm fine Blood Mooning into Primarina and then clicking Eruption with Torkoal, because there's no way that Primarina can be slower than Torkoal right now. And Eruption comes out, and that's going to KO Clefable, and Ursaluna is slower than Primarina, so we just get the Blood Moon into that slot, and that's going to wrap up the game. Okay, bit of an opposing Torkoal Trick Room team here. However, they have less Trick Room elements than us. They do have Choice Scarf, Gardevoir, Expanding Force. Ugh, boy. I mean, the only thing that we can lead is Umbreon to avoid Expanding Force, even though Dazzling Gleam, it's Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam too, so it's going to do a lot of damage there. But what if we did Umbreon Bruxish and then Torkoal Ursaluna in the back, and we hope that Bruxish can survive the onslaught. They do lead the Gardevoir and DD here, and they can't Helping Hand without us being able to get up the Trick Room. So let's go for the Snarl here and just protect for this first turn with Bruxish. And they do Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam doesn't do too much to Umbreon. As we get the Snarl into both slots, and oh, they actually Trick Room for us, which is very nice of them. Because now we can Snarl and then swap in Ursaluna here, I feel like, pretty safely. Oh, we can just Flip Turn into Gardevoir here, and I'd be fine with that. They swap in a Moongus, and they Alluring Voice with in D, which is interesting. Our Moongus is Terra Water here. So let's swap in Ursaluna. Just because we still have the Actually, we don't have the focus sash on Bruxish anymore. Since we're inside Trick Room, though, the Amogus is probably slower than us. We can foul play into Indeedee to get some damage into it, and then protect Ursaluna. Stalling out the Trick Room does benefit us, especially if we can get rid of their Psychic Terrain pieces. Oh, they actually just decided to spore into Umbreon, so we could have attacked with Ursaluna there and then been in a really good position. Well, I'm gonna try Blood Mooning Indeedee. Okay, so Torkoal here. And they spore. Umbreon, do you wake up? Nope. Okay, well, we can try Snarling with Umbreon, but I think we can protect Ursaluna. Okay, Ursaluna doesn't wake up. Get the Eruption in both, and Umbreon is going to take a lot of damage. And Pollen Puff doesn't take out Umbreon, but Umbreon at least gets to wake up and go for the Snarl here. And the turn of Trick Room has now ended. This is what kind of stinks about not having Taunt on Umbreon, but I thought the skill swap was a little bit more important. We could just use Bruxish, and then Umbreon's faster, so we can Moonlight. And, I guess just protect Bruxish for this turn. Kind of nervous about them just hard swapping in Indeedee Gardevoir, though. I think let's flip turn. No, we can't really afford to flip turn. Let's Moonlight and protect this turn and see what happens. They Rage Powder with Amoonguss, but we get to Moonlight as they decide to Heat Wave this time, but that doesn't do too much damage to Umbreon. And let's try getting the Foul Play into Amoonguss, and then perhaps Pain Splitting the Torkoal. Because the Torkoal might have more health if it's Trick Room Torkoal, because you only need to invest Special Attack, unless you're investing in like Defense EVs. Okay, so they decided to swap in Indeedee, which is going to get their Psychic Terrain. And we actually give them health by Pain Splitting the Indeedee, which is not good. Rocky Helmet comes out on Amoonguss, and yeah, we're just kind of stuck at this point. Like, we need to get a Trick Room and then get Torkoal in, and then have Torkoal go crazy against everything that's left. Now they're going to swap Gardevoir, and they try Alluring Voicing. Sun goes out, we can Snarl, and go for the Trick Room. I guess what would have been really good there if I swapped in Torkoal for the Umbreon, because then we would have resisted the hit, but they could have just Expanding Force with Gardevoir. They Alluring Voice. Oh, but now we get Torkoal in for free. And they can still Terra Water with Amoonguss, but they have to lose at least something. So let's Terra Fire Eruption into both. I guess just flip turn the Gardevoir, as they bring in their own Torkoal here. And Indeedee's going to protect. How much damage do we do there, Torkoal? Oh, we do a lot to their Torkoal. Flip turn does good damage into their Torkoal, but now they can just bring in their Amoonguss. And we're going to Eruption for as much damage as we can get. Actually, yeah, we should Eruption for as much damage as we can get. And I guess go for, because they're going to Water Tear, so they're going to redirect the flip turn here. We get rid of Indeedee. Amoonguss puts Torkoal to sleep. And we flip turn there, but Psychic Terrain runs out. So now it just depends how much Gardevoir can do to Torkoal in the remaining turns. But also Torkoal needs to wake up because they'll just speed us outside of Trick Room. They try sporing into Bruxish and Expanding Forces that much into Torkoal. And this is the turn where Torkoal would have to wake up in order for us to come out on top of this game. Is right here. Torkoal, can you please get the one turn wake up? Please? Please? We really need the Heat Wave to do big damage. Torkoal didn't wake up. And Expanding Force KOs Torkoal. Alright. Okay, so I don't think there was actually anything wrong with the plays that we made there. They just kind of called that one turn where they put Umbreon to sleep really good. So what if we do Umbreon and Bruxish again, and we have Ursaluna. Actually, what if we just hard led Venusaur? No, we can't do that because they can just lead Indeedee and then redirect. I think it always has to be Umbreon Bruxish, which means Ursaluna Torkoal in the back, and this time we could just try playing things a little bit smarter. They start Gardevoir here, but if we get the so we could just Snarl and Protect like we did last time. However, it benefits us more to swap Umbreon straight to Torkoal and then just start clicking Eruption into things. Because then something has to die, which means that we have more time to stall. So let's just Torkoal and Trick Room and see what happens and see if we get lucky. They Fairy Tale Gardevoir, they Moonblast Torkoal here, and they are Luring Voice the Torkoal. Now we get Trick Room. And we can Terrify or Heat Wave both slots, and swap in Ursaluna to get Ursaluna going. Because I feel like Heat Wave would always KO Gardevoir here. Okay, they bring in their own Torkoal. And Heat Wave does pretty good damage, just they get Learning Voice of Torkoal. So, now we can click Hyper Voice. We could swap back in Umbreon. But they're pretty primed for just swapping in Amoonguss here. Let's Protect, and then I guess just Hyper Voice does the most damage to both. It feels pretty safe, so let's go for the Hyper Voice. As their Torkoal protects, we get the Hyper Voice. Did they Alluring Voice my Ursaluna? No. They just inverted the Trick Room. Okay, well that's not so bad, because Ursaluna should be pretty fast here. Which means we can, like, Heat Wave and Hyper Voice again. And there's really not much that switches in here, right? As they protect their Indeedee, are they just gonna sacrifice their Torkoal getting Gardevoir? I guess they are. I mean, if they want to Expanding Force, we could just double protect, and then that gets rid of their Psychic Terrain. I swapped Amoonguss out on this turn so they could bring the terrain back next turn. As they will get the double Expanding Force, but we could probably take it with Ursaluna and then just Blood Moon into Gardevoir or Amoonguss. I'm not even sure if we really need Torkoal anymore. We just need Ursaluna to beat Amoonguss. Then again, let's swap in Umbreon, and then I think Blood Moon into Amoonguss because it's the most dangerous one. Okay, I should have Blood Moon into Gardevoir, because now we send in Umbreon and the Expanding Force, and the Expanding Force doesn't kill Ursaluna, but it's pretty much dead at this point. Wait, now Gardevoir is locked into Expanding Force though, so Gardevoir can't hurt Umbreon anymore, because the Gardevoir's Twist Scarf. Which means that they would have to Pollen Puff it down, so we can afford to Snarl here, and these Snarls are going to stick around for the rest of the game. As they do Spore Umbreon here, but now it's a bit of a battle of attrition, I think. As we can choose to lose Ursaluna. Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to choose to lose Ursaluna. As they pump up Umbreon, but that doesn't do enough, and with our leftovers and our Moonlight, I feel pretty confident that we can just stall it out. We're gonna start Bruxish here, just because we just need to... Is there an ability that I could steal? Amoonguss's Regenerator. I mean, let's just start snarling and protecting with Bruxish here. Okay, Umbreon gets the Wake Up and gets the Snarl into both, and they try Sporing. So we just need no crits from Amoonguss, pretty much. So I'm going to start Foul playing Gardevoir, hoping that does more. It's hard to tell what would do more, because it's going to resist it, but it also shouldn't have much attack. But maybe the Snarl is a spread move, is the thing. Let's just flip turn, do Expanding Force into Bruxish, so Torkoal at least isn't going to take the damage. So we get the flip turn here, and now we can swap in Torkoal, and we get to Snarl both. And the thing about us flip turning is actually that we're safe from the Expanding Forces on Torkoal, because now they can only Expanding Force one slot, which they would only Expanding Force one slot, but we can just keep snarling and then swap Bruxish back in, and we really don't care if they put Bruxish to sleep. As they do Spore Umbreon here, and the flip turn is going to do less from Bruxish. The Amoonguss is Rage Powdering to make this game extra long for no reason. I legitimately might time out because of lag here, as I just have to keep snarling and then protecting in order to get down both slots. And they decided to decide Pollen Puff, but they're Telepathy, so that's not how that works. I mean, the Amoonguss itself doesn't have a way to heal itself, so we're just going to swap in Bruxish again here. And Bruxish will take some more damage, but it also means that we're getting closer to Pain Splitting the Amoonguss for it taking more damage. And they Spore into Umbreon. And now I feel like the special attack is so low on these Pokemon that I could just Heat Wave with Torkoal and not have regrets, because that also allows me to get Bruxish in here for free. So let's just Snarl and Heat Wave, and okay, the game ends, so they don't decide to KO Torkoal here. They just decide to try and put Umbreon to sleep again, as Heat Wave KOs both. Now we're on to game 3 after all that time. Okay, so they brought the same Mons, that's the thing. It's just that we got a little bit better off because we were able to position our Mons a little bit better. So I wonder if... what would they do differently? Because I've led Umbreon and Bruxish both times because I've had to. What if we just led Umbreon and Ursaluna? Because that exerts more immediate pressure. Let's do, actually, Bruxish and Ursaluna, and then have Umbreon and Torkoal in the back. Because then they have to decide whether or not I'm going to start Trick Room. Okay, they start Gardevoir and Garchomp. Which, they could just click Earthquake with Garchomp, and then Dazzling Gleam with Bruxish, and that covers a lot? Air Life Orb. Would the Earthquake really do enough in combination with the Gardevoir's Choice Scarf? Icy Wind would probably do enough. Let's go for the Trick Room and protect Ursaluna. They decided to Terra Fairy here, and they Moonblast into Bruxish, which immediately brings it down to Sash, and they go for the Earthquake. Okay, well, this game I think is going to end much faster, because they made the right decision there, which was to target Bruxish. And I don't think we have a way back into this. Since we're Terra Electric, we can't Terra out of being weak to the Gardevoir. We can Foul Play, and then try to get Terra Normal Hyper Voice into both. But Moonblast, yeah, Moonblast is just doing too much damage. And Foul Play isn't doing enough damage into Garchomp, because now they can just target Umbreon and Torkoal. And, oh, we actually don't lose here? What happens? I guess Torkoal just lives the Earthquake. So yeah, Torkoal gets the Earthquake, but it misses the Heat Wave into the Gardevoir, who we would have need to hit the Gardevoir, and then they would have need to, like... I mean, there's still no way out of it, because Indeedee's faster than Torkoal, but... yeah, that's the end of that game. So, I feel like... I don't think the team was bad in that one. I think the opponent just made the right plays by deciding to target into Bruxish. Because if I took that one turn to just Blood Moon into the Gardevoir, then... what is the Gardevoir's Choice Scarf? If I took that one turn to protect Bruxish and then attack with Ursaluna to Blood Moon into the Gardevoir, then we probably would have gotten somewhere, because they have Indeedee in the back, which can Alluring Voice, but I feel like Bruxish would take the Earthquake pretty alright. Then again, I could have predicted that we could have just entirely changed the leads and then started with Venusaur if I thought they weren't going to lead Indeedee. But, I mean, the game played out how the game played out, so I'm not going to stress about it too much. Alright, well, that was the Sun and Moon team. I actually enjoyed playing it a little bit more than I thought I would, because I was really running the teams that I was running previously into the ground with how frustrating I was trying to pilot them. But I like piloting this team, mostly just because I haven't piloted Umbreon very often, and Umbreon is actually really tanky. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, maybe consider leaving a like on the video, and even consider subscribing, because both of those things will help me out an absolute ton. And this video went up super late. I apologize for that. I mean, now that I think about it, this video actually was started to be worked on while the sun was up, and now the moon is out, for reference on how long it took me to figure out how to build this team together. Not specifically this team, but this one took a while, and it's going to take a while to edit this one since we're doing 3 best of 3 matches. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.